Good morning, everybody. I think we're going to get going. There might be a few that comes in drips and drabs, but let's kick it off in the sake of time. Good morning, my name is Adrian. We'll be talking about the go-to-market session this morning. So we'll be touching on a few elements that Bruce and Peter mentioned this morning. So some of the slides might be familiar to you, but our focus today is going to be on what does it mean to you as a partner? How do you monetize it? How do you take it to market? How do you win with these solutions? And more importantly, how do we support you within your process of driving our solutions into market? So if you have any questions, please feel free to stop and ask at any time.
In a world of constant progress, where ideas are transformed into reality at the speed of thought, fearless innovators pave the way to the digital revolution. They believe in the future by creating it first. From humble beginnings in Palo Alto to a global innovation powerhouse, VMware continues to challenge the status quo and make the impossible possible. Why do we keep imagining, creating, asking, what if? Because we are driven by ingenuity and a dedication to getting things done. Our innovation, our ideas are at the heart of the technologies that power and secure the digital future, exploring uncharted territories to solve our customers' hardest problems. Curiosity is the engine of innovation. It is what enables us to pursue anything our imaginations can dream up. We engineer cutting-edge ideas, sparking conversations that expand all boundaries. We aspire to make the most innovative software in and for the world. Together, we've helped reduce the world's carbon footprint, provided communities the digital tools they need to thrive, and that's what makes us a force for good. Core to our values are our customers, helping them shape an unlimited future. We enable them to build what they need, the way they need it. Their success is our success. We are all connected. We know success is a collaborative effort. We are a community with a relentless spirit of giving more than we take. We're constantly learning and evolving to cultivate a culture of possibility. We are fearless innovators transforming tomorrow. With our customers, we are one. We are VMware.
So a few things that jumps to mind for me: creativity, imagination, innovation, and none of that is possible without you as being our partners here today. We want to thank you for your support in VMware's go-to-market strategy and how we achieve that. What an exciting time to be part of the world of technology, and specifically digital transformation. And Bruce mentioned a few times this morning this drive, this motion behind digital transformation. And I'm sure you've heard this many, many times, not just from VMware, but from other vendors as well. And for me personally, the word digital transformation is kind of like what cloud was a few years ago, right? We weren't quite sure what it is or where it's going to go to or what it's going to mean in a few years' time or in the future, but we knew that it was important. We knew that we needed to get on that bandwagon. And that's where customers find themselves today as well. Digital transformation means different things to different customers. And we've seen a whole digital surgence of new companies that's come to light, like Uber and Airbnb. And here in Australia, we've got finder.com.au and Hotels Combined, really building new businesses and in some cases, billion-dollar industries on digital transformation. For some customers, it is about optimizing what they have internally and really looking at what processes can we have and can we optimize to create efficiencies and scale and reducing overheads and be better at what we're doing, being more competitive at what we're doing. Some customers look at digital transformation and say, we're not quite sure where this is going, but let's put our heads together and build a strategy around it. Let's put our heads together and try to look at what the industry has to offer, what other companies are doing, and let's look at what our partners have and how they can help us move forward into the future. Whichever way you look at this, the conversation around digital transformation is always the starting point of a business discussion. And when we talk to IT leaders about their digital transformation journey and what they foresee, what's happening in the future, time and time again, the same elements come to mind. They want to provide access to information and access to application to their workforce, to their customers, because they're dealing with a generation that is now coming into the workforce that's never known the world without the internet. They consume information and applications on a different scale to what we used to, right? I remember, as a kid, when we wanted to go to the movies, what did you do? You open the newspaper and you went and you had a look at what's playing at the flicks, right? Today, they open up the application, download a 250 megabyte 4K digital file, watch the trailer, book their seat, add popcorn to it, and the whole thing is done within a few split seconds. That is how the new digital workforce is driving digital transformation. And companies need to adjust to that. They need to adjust to those workforces. We think about how applications are changing the way that we consume information. And customers want to create business agility and innovation. They want to get new applications and new products to market, and it's all about time to value and time to market for them. I'm not sure if you've seen recently that Virgin Australia created a pop-up check-in counter at the passenger terminal in Sydney very recently. And just by doing that, captured almost 90% of the market of everybody that got off that boat. Just out of nowhere, bang, the flexibility that this connectivity model provided them was utilized to capture that market. But on the flip side, there's a dark side to this as well. And CIOs are very, very slow to move and to adopt this based on the risk that it provides. They want to be agile, they want to innovate, they want to do all these great things, they want to capture new markets, but they don't want to have the company's name on the newspaper the next morning, right? And a key example of this is GoGet, that very recently was compromised and all their customer details and credit card details was published online. There's a very fine line between doing this. And sometimes the risk of security built in with all of this prevents customers from innovating as well. So how do we do that? So there's a few key priorities that CIOs say to us, this is what we need to do in order to enable us to be more agile and going forward. Now, they want to provide the access to information and applications. It really is that ability to provide the applications that they have, whether it's enterprise applications to their workforce, giving them more agility and being more productive in what they're doing, right? Or providing new applications to their customers, wherever they might be, and reaching new geographical areas or new generational markets that they might want to access. But you can't do that without transforming the actual infrastructure stack that supports those applications, right? If you think of an application developer, when he builds his app, he doesn't think in terms of what is the network construct going to be within this application? How many VLANs am I going to need when I develop this application? What is the IP addressing scheme going to be? And he certainly doesn't think in terms of how many LUNs do I need and what is my zoning database and the fiber channel fabric going to look like, right? So when these developers create these applications, they have a lot of excitement around this. It's about that time to market as quickly as possible to grab that market share. And 9 out of 10 times it hits the infrastructure team and they go, the compute guy says, yeah, I can fire up a few virtual machines. We can make this happen quite easily. And then the storage and the networking guy says, yeah, look, we need a few weeks to sort this out. Because we're not sure if it's inside the DMZ or outside the DMZ, if your firewall load balance, who's going to access it, what is DR, all these things need to be worked out, and then it just stalls the whole process. So what we're saying is, to support these evolving applications that drive this evolution and move towards cloud, we need to have a very flexible function within our data center. We need to have a function that can scale according to your needs and provision services at the drop of a hat. And you can only do that with software. We're not saying get rid of the hardware, because you still need a cable to plug into a port and make things happen. But it's that software layer that will provide you the flexibility to make that happen. You can't do that without having a multi-cloud strategy built into that. So according to Gartner, they say 50% of applications in the near future is going to move to the cloud. Now you ask yourself, do any of your customers really know how many applications they have in their data center? Whenever I ask a customer, they say, I've got no idea. We've got maybe a few hundred, in some cases a few thousand. I've had customers that said, yeah, maybe in about 6,000 of them. Even if you're conservative and you say they've got 1,000 applications and 500 of them go somewhere in the cloud, where do they go? Who's going to look after them? And how do you secure enterprise-grade security and connectivity and visibility and operational management to those applications? It's a bit of an enigma, really. So you need to have a strategy on how you're going to really address those applications going to move. It's not just a question of why we should take applications to the cloud. It's going to happen regardless. And most developers these days build applications with scale in mind. And then the key element to that is, how do you transform security? Now, security to me is always a layered approach. It's like an onion with different layers, and you've got different pieces to it, right? In the military, we call it security in depth. It's like a castle with a moat, and it's got walls and things around it, right? So different levels of security to it. And not just one piece of security does everything. So you combine and you partner and you build security around those applications. And this is where VMware has been brilliant. And we've partnered with the likes of Palo Alto, Trend Micro, and Carbon Black, and I'll mention some of the examples a little bit later on, where we leverage our partnerships with those companies and really provide you a secure end-to-end security capability, no matter where your application resides. So if you take a workload, one component within your SAP application, and you move it into AWS, for example, or you move it to Google, you move it to a private cloud, that policy remains with it, and you can surely know that that enterprise-grade security remains with that application. So these are the strategic IT priorities that our customers are talking to us about. They want to have flexibility, they want to have scalability, they want to reach new markets, they want to be more competitive. And it doesn't matter which industry they're in, whether they're retail, defense, whether they're in healthcare or education, all of this resonates with them. And that's what makes the next slide so great. And you've seen that Bruce put this on. This is our 4 pillars go to market, right? So when we talk to our customers, we talk about how do we modernize your data center? How do we provide that flexible infrastructure stack that can support your application needs? How do we integrate that in a cloud model that can provide you connectivity no matter where you move it to? Again, Gartner has predicted that in the near future, that cloud services is going to become like a commodity, like a utility. And most data centers might even have up to 6 different cloud connectivity models, which they would have to utilize from. Empower digital workspaces, and we'll talk about some great stories around that. That's really, for me, where the magic comes in with VMware and how we really change, the outcomes of industries, wrapped up around security. But the great thing about this slide for me is what I call the any slide. And when we put this up in front of CIOs, they go, that's what we need, right? It really is, that's what we need. No matter if they're in the federal police or in defense or in healthcare or in education, this is what we need, okay? Because we can take any device, irrespective of whether it's an Apple or a Microsoft or a Google Chrome or an IoT device, and we can run it on any application. Now, we've got some customers that say, hey, we're still running DOS applications from back in the day. Can you make it happen? Yes, we can. We also have customers that say to us, here's our code. Can you make it happen? Yes, we can. That's what we do, right? So it's not just a question of, oh no, we can only do these applications over here. No, we do the full suite, no matter what you support. Any device, any applications, in a secure manner, which is why we've got these little locks down the side on any cloud. Now, the great thing about this slide is you can take this slide, take the VMware logos off it, put your own logos on it, and go to your customer and say, hey, this is what we can do for you. And if they say yes, we've got a great conversation to have with you, right? So our partners can take this conversation to their customers and say, does this resonate with you? Is this something that you want to achieve maybe in the next year or so? Yeah, absolutely. That's what we can do, right? So the second thing that a CIO usually says to us when he looks at this, he says, can I have a copy of this slide? Because they want to take this to their board and say, guys, this is what we need to drive our business forward. It really is a great slide for us to have a talking point around. So VMware has been a company that's innovated for the last 20 years. And the great thing about our innovation is that every single time that we've added something in, it's been a monumental opportunity for our partners. So when vSphere came out, it really changed the whole way that people looked at server virtualization or servers and compute as such. It created a massive opportunity for our partners to take this on board and drive new business. And we added vSOM, intelligent operations, to the equation as well. But we didn't just stop there. We then took it through the infrastructure stack, and we added NSX with the acquisition of Nicira a few years ago, where we really provided network function virtualization. So now you can add not just microsegmentation, security, firewall, load balancing, service insertion, but NSX is at the heart of driving that network connectivity across multiple clouds as well, which we'll talk about later on. The next part of the stack was to look at vSAN, or storage virtualization. We'll talk about that as well. But hyperconverged infrastructure is probably our fastest growing stack within our business. 150% growth in the last 4 years, over 14,000 customers globally. It is a fantastic product, but it's not just a product by itself, right? And often when I talk to the VMware team, I say, guys, let's not look at the car parts that we have here. Let's look at the whole car and where the customer wants to go, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. And the next one, which was mentioned in Bruce's presentation, is VMC on AWS. And again, this is a monumental opportunity for our partners to engage and have the opportunity to drive your customers on a cloud platform. Now, the great thing about this is you don't have to be a service provider. You don't have to be a VCPP product, service provider with VMware to be able to do that. Any of our partners can do that. We've created a fantastic competency program that we can assist you on. We've got some training that we will assist you on. Once you certified as within the AWS competency, we give you access to sales tools and other sales incentives that you could utilize to drive this business for you. So all of this over the past few years, every single time that we've introduced new products has been a monumental opportunity for our partners to engage, and I implore you to continue to do so. So let's go down a little bit into some of the products, and I'll tell you some of the changes that's been happening and where those key opportunities reside around our product sets. And I'm not going to make this a technical discussion at all, but let's have a look at vSphere. So vSphere is the foundation that makes everything happen, right? It's been around for a long time. Everybody really knows about vSphere. And in many respects, when you ask your customers, who's VMware? They'll tell you they're the server virtualization guys, right? And we continue to do this really well. And we continue to innovate within vSphere. And often customers say to me, but we've got vSphere 5.5 running and it's really good. I don't really want to change it. Why should we do that? And then we throw that into the mix, right? We say vSphere 5.5, end of support and life in September, and they go, why do you do that? The answer is simple. We keep on innovating because our innovation within vSphere is aligned to what's happening at the application layer, right? And many times, the budget holders of the applications don't sit within the IT team. They sit in HR and logistics and business operations at the COO level, and they have budgets to update and upgrade their applications. We recently had a customer right here in Melbourne a few months ago where they did a massive upgrade on SAP. And as soon as they did that, the virtual layer just couldn't cope with it because it was over-provisioned, and they were running vSphere 5.1. And they came to us and said, why did it happen? We go, well, it's very simple, right? Your application has requirements that is not supported on the infrastructure stack. So we need to you need to upgrade the bottom level to support the upper level, right? So this is conversations that you have with your customers, and often they're not. It's not just about, oh, we're doing an upgrade. It's all about the risk involved and support new functions. So if we look at this, for example, we've got vSphere persistent memory, which really is optimized around Oracle databases, or high performance around Oracle databases. We've got vGPU support for high-end desktop virtualization users. So these innovations continue to be added to our vSphere domain to support the growing demands that we have on an application level. vSAN has been absolutely incredible. vSAN has really taken off, and it's going from strength to strength. And the latest IDC indicators are that vSAN is leading the HCI stack globally, beyond all other manufacturers. And the great thing about vSAN is that it's not an appliance. It's not just tied to one piece of hardware. We really have the ability to run this across pretty much any high-end hardware that you have. So customers have choice towards that. And as you can see, this has now grown over, I've been told, 14,000 customers, Mark? Yeah, 14,000 customers globally, and it keeps on growing. 150% growth over the last 4 years. And we've got some great customer references there. Come and speak to our vSAN team. We've got Mark and Rohan here that can assist you on that. But with regards to vSAN, the hyper-converged stack that we have within vSAN is probably the highest level of technology that you can find within any HCI stack. So when it comes to inline deduplication, compression, all-flash arrays, the performance is there. And often I get customers, they phone me and say, hey, I need a quote for vSAN. The first question we say is, well, okay, but why? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Now I want to compare it against ABC in the market. Now the thing about vSAN is that the value proposition of vSAN is not just in the features that it has within the box, right? So if you compare apples to apples or apples to a fruitcake, but really the capability that vSAN provides you on a journey to the future. So if you want to extend your storage capability in a multi-cloud environment, if you want to extend vSAN visibility or storage visibility across a multi-cloud environment, that's where the strength comes in. Not to mention the integration across vSphere, NSX, and SDDC Manager that gives you that ability to manage your storage from a far better environment. So we've also created vSAN ready nodes. And the great thing about that is we partner with everybody. Customers can say to us, hey, but I don't really want to buy ABC server. I want to buy my Lenovo server, or I want to buy my Dell server, or I want to stick with my HPE server. Yep, we can do that. Even if the customer decides to change at a later stage from ABC server to XYZ server, no problem, we can do that, right? We have these pre-built ready nodes designed for customers, no matter what enterprise-grade server platform they have. Then we also have our cousins at Dell EMC that has VxRail and VxRack. And the great thing about this is it's not just the integration into a reference architecture. We're really getting into the management of lifecycle management. Plus we have what we call VVDs, VMware Validated Designs, which to you as a partner is greatly invaluable because it's a reference architecture with a pre-built BOQ that you can go to a customer and say, Mr. Customer, you want to run Oracle database on VxRail? There's the BOQ. It's pre-done. It's pre-built. It is predictable performance. And as a partner, it shortens your deployment cycle because everything is documented. The value is there already. If we extend this SDDC stack now into vCloud Foundation, now we're talking about a full stack with vSphere, vSAN, NSX, SDDC Manager. This really becomes the foundation of where a customer takes their cloud conversation no matter where they go. Now we've got customers that say, I'm not quite sure about what I want to do in the future, but I need some storage virtualization today. Okay, well the answer is simple. Let's cater for today that's going to allow you to be sensible in the future, right? And this is where vSAN, NSX, and vSphere plays that role because no matter where you want to go in the future, if you have a VCF stack We can take you anywhere you want. Any application that you want to run on is supported by that specific stack. And we can extend that to a variety of cloud service providers that we have in country already. Now, the great thing about vSAN is that the innovation keeps on going. And we haven't stopped, and we keep on going. And we have some fantastic new features that's just been launched with vSAN as we extended a hybrid cloud, a multi-cloud environment as well. So many of our competitors, they throw things at us and say, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, which probably is about 5 years old, right? So have a chat with our vSAN team in terms of the capabilities that we have around vSAN, and more importantly, what it could mean to your customer if it's integrated into a vSphere NSX environment going into the future. We also have this fantastic new HCI assessment tool for your pre-sales teams. They can just leverage this tool. It's free to download. It runs on an ESXi host that collects all the information on your behalf. Very simple and easy. So you don't need to spend hours and hours of pre-sales activities with billable resources trying to determine what size this HCI stack should look like, right? This is a piece of code that you run on the hypervisor, and it would detect, get the information, build it for you. Very plain and simple. So again, making your life quite easy. I often get questions about, so what do we have available today in terms of cloud? If I want to go to the cloud, where can VMware take me? What is available here in Australia? Because, you know, we're on the bottom end of the world, and we kind of forgotten most of the time. And most of them don't realize that we actually have a very good value proposition today already. We've got data centers based here in Sydney that supports the Australian market from a VMware cloud perspective. So this is what's available today. Cloud Foundation, obviously key that a customer has that, because that provides you the ability to stretch that basic private cloud environment into the public cloud space. And then we have a number of service providers with a number of data centers available, of which Australia is one of them. However, very exciting, and Bruce had this on stage as well, is that we're launching in Q3, which is kind of happening very soon. We're launching VMware Cloud on AWS as well. And this is a fantastic opportunity for you as our partners to listen to your customers and provide new options to them. And we've had customers that come to us that are drawing us into conversations and say, but hang on, I'm paying an arm and a leg for my whole data center facility. Power, cooling, space and security and operational management. How do I just take this and run this in the cloud? Now we've got some fantastic tools that can work with your pre-sales team, and we've got resources that we can assign to you and help you do an assessment of what's needed, and even do a cost analysis. So you might go and say, well, this customer usually would have bought a whole bunch of servers. Well, let's look at this as an opportunity, and you can create annuity business on a different model where the customer consumes resources on demand, right? Another opportunity for you. The challenge that we have with having so many different clouds in the sky is that most often not, these clouds don't talk to each other, right? We've got a challenge that a customer might want to have AWS, you might have Google, you might have Azure, you might have Rackspace, you might have CenturyLink, but how do we manage my application? If I take my SAP application in a standard 3-tiered format and I say, okay, I'm going to take my presentation layer and have some elements of that and stick that into AWS. I'm going to take my application or my middleware, I'm going to take some components of that and stick it into Azure. How do I make them talk to one another? How do I not have different segmented silos in my approach? And that's the challenges that we have, because now you're sitting with inconsistent tools and policies, and most likely inconsistent security policies, more importantly. You need to have different skill sets to support different clouds. And more likely than not, you don't have a single pane of glass that gives you a visibility of your application. And this is where we sit with different teams with different expertise, having the problem with multiple clouds. And this multi-clouds really have become the new silos that we have to deal with. And this is something that customers that adopted multi-cloud environments very quickly on their own realize the challenge now. And this is where we, as VMware, with you as our partners, can play an intricate role, because this causes lack of visibility, operational complexity, and increased risk. Now, you can imagine for an IT department that generates revenue by really having visibility of applications and billing it out to other business units within their company, if they lose the visibility of what it costs to run an Oracle database, or they lose visibility of what it costs to run a SAP application, it really means lost revenue to them as well. So how do they get around that? NSX plays a massive role within that, and NSX really creates that foundation of bringing these multiple clouds together under one umbrella. It really provides that connectivity layer and visibility for applications to communicate with one another, and then wrap security within that as well. So we've heard Bruce talk about microsegmentation and how to stretch microsegmentation from one cloud to another. We'll talk about SD-WAN a little bit later on as well, but really bringing security, automation, and multi-cloud networking into the equation for you to have one pane of glass to see how does my app tier talk to my web tier, talk to my database, when they're all spread across multiple clouds as such. And part of what we have is providing these services to our customers, and you'll be able to provide them to your customers, is how do I have visibility of a multi-cloud environment from a single pane of glass? If you look at this from the left here, is a basic element like inventory. How many VMs do I run? How many CPUs do I consume? How many cores do I consume? And what does it cost me? And how do I take my costing model from a Google to an Azure to a private cloud, for example? How do I cost it all together and get one costing model at the end of the day? Bruce also mentioned Wavefront, and Wavefront really provides us real-time data analytics. Try to do data analytics between a VM that sits in Google versus one that sits in AWS, and try to understand the data throughput that's between those VMs, and use two different tool sets between the two is going to be a nightmare. But with VMware Wavefront, we're able to provide that from a single pane of glass. Networking provisioning, real-time networking monitoring, and real-time security monitoring, really where the magic comes in with NSX, partnering with companies like Palo Alto, Trend Micro, and Carbon Black, really bringing it all together for you and presenting it on a single pane. Now, this is the magic of having a single view to a multi-cloud environment. So if customers come to you and say, I want to take my applications, I want to move it to the cloud, but I'm scared that I'm going to lose visibility. I'm not sure how I'm going to cost it. I'm not sure how I'm going to monitor my security. I'm not even sure they're going to talk to each other. And if something breaks, well, I'm not even going to know if it breaks. All right? And this is where the magic of NSX comes together. Plus, we combine this great acquisition that we did recently with VeloCloud. NSX SD-WAN by VeloCloud. Now, you'll know that SD-WAN probably takes up in any organization about a third of the cost of running the IT infrastructure, right? It's that connectivity solution that you need. Most of the time it's to an MPLS service provider of some sort, and SD-WAN with VeloCloud really is making things quick, simple, and easy. Is how to deploy multiple connectivity solutions, robo solutions into a single platform. So simplified WAN management, zero-touch deployments, application performance, and manage on-ramp to the cloud. And I've recently been told that this really is setting the platform for us, adopting and expanding our IoT platform as well. So really connecting remote devices, remote IoT devices through a secure platform. You've got SD-WAN by NSX, NSX security overlaid with that, making things pretty simple. VeloCloud leads the SD-WAN market by Frost & Sullivan, so we're really as excited. And again, this is something which has been greatly adopted by major service providers here in Australia. It's already running. you have the ability to talk to your customers about this, really saving them money and make things quick, simple, and easy for them. The one thing that I'm really excited about is this ecosystem of what NSX provides us. And for you as partners, you look at some of those logos on the slide and you go, yeah, I work with those guys. They make my life quite easy, you know. And typically within the security services, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, McAfee, Trend Micro, Carbon Black, these are all integrated solutions within NSX. And if I take Carbon Black, for example, fantastic solution, wraps itself around a workload or a virtual machine, and then monitors what is the intended good of that workload. It says, okay, this is how it's supposed to operate. Then it monitors in real-time machine learning what the anomalies are within the processes. And as soon as an anomaly happens, guess what? It spikes up and says, hey, something's wrong with this workload. I don't know what or what it is, but something's wrong. Come have a look. Bring in the power of NSX and App Defense. Suddenly we're application aware. So now, when Carbon Black does that, they say, hey, something is wrong. We go, yeah, that is the web tier of your SAP application that sits in AWS, and this is how it affects your whole application stretched across the multi-cloud environment. Extremely powerful, right? So that integration of multi-vendor, I call it the intersection of technologies, where these technologies intersect to provide escalated value proposition to our customers. So a lot of these would be very familiar to you, but we are partnering with absolutely all of them. So if we look at the basics, you know, I spoke earlier about selling the car parts when we really want to know where the customer is going, right? The car parts for us in VMware Cloud Foundation is vSphere, vSAN, NSX with SDDC Manager. So when a customer asks you about, hey, can I get a quote for vSAN or can I get a quote for NSX? What you really need to ask him is, where do you want to go to? It's like us being car salesmen and a guy phones you and says, hey, well, I need a gearbox. You know, so why do you need a gearbox? What car do you have? Or where do you want to go to, really, right? Once you have that foundational structure of this SDDC or VMware Cloud Foundation intact, you can really add any application on top of that. Whether you run desktop virtualization with Horizon, vRealize operations, OpenStack, containers, IoT, it really opens up the opportunity, not just for the customer to give him choices, but for you as the partner who's provided the foundational stack to drive those options within your customer base. So great opportunity for you to really get that buy-in with that customer to provide them the foundation from the very beginning. Doesn't matter whether it runs in a private cloud environment or it stretches into a public cloud environment, you have the ability to provide and service both ends of the scale. It's not that you need to now hand over to another service provider once the customer decides to go somewhere else. You can still maintain that relationship and stretch that VMware Cloud Foundation from the private cloud into a public cloud environment. So, consumerization driving digital transformation. I always have a bit of a chuckle about this because I look at the youngsters today and how they consume data and information and applications almost like it's a packet of chips, right? They really have changed the way that we engage the world and how it's driving the world's outcome. We have a modern workforce today. Like I said earlier on, we've got a workforce that has never seen the world or known the world without the internet. They don't know what it means to not to have the internet at the fingertips. Everything is on demand. I personally like to sit at night and watch the news at 7 o'clock. The younger generation might not. They want to know everything right now. If they have a question in their mind, they Google it straight away. If they want to know, who won Wimbledon, they Google it straight away. They're not going to wait for the news to come up, right? We have apps everywhere, different types of applications and different platforms on different devices, making things really, really difficult to manage from a BYOD device perspective. Mobile workflows, different emerging delivery models. Within a company, we've got bring your own device, company-owned device, third-party provide device. So how do we manage all of these different models? It's it's been stated that we are going to see a growth to about 11.6 billion devices in the near future. All that provides applications, information to individuals globally. So with that comes a massive challenge for us to manage within this space, right? We've got poor user experiences and security postures. Now, I often ask individuals, if you open up a YouTube video file, how long are you willing to wait for that YouTube file to start playing? And I always get different answers anywhere in the world that I go. Some say if I press play, it should start playing immediately. Some say, no, I'll wait a few seconds. And typically when I'm in Southeast Asia or India, they go, no, it's okay, I'll wait a minute or so, and then, I'm used to that. So, and that's a hard thing because we've got different experiences and different expectations from one individual to the next. But the bottom line is, how do we provide enterprise-grade experiences in a mobile environment, irrespective of where you are located? So device proliferation, BYOD, it's complicated endpoint management. We've got an ever-evolving operating systems within our endpoints. We've got iOS, we've got Chrome, we've got Windows, we've got a whole bunch of other emerging applications or operating systems that are coming to market. Plus we have legacy PC lifecycle management with Windows operating systems that are complex to manage. So what do we need to deliver this digital workspace? We need to support any device or ownership model. Doesn't matter what it is. We need to provide a platform that can support any device in any way, shape, or form that the customer wants to utilize. We want to be able to access and delivery of any application. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's an old DOS application, newer application, cloud-based application, or just here's my code, make it work for me. And we need to protect our applications, including data in motion and data in rest as well. And this really is where the magic comes in when we look at Workspace ONE. And whenever I think of Workspace ONE, I think about how it changes the world we live in, right? And about 3 weeks ago, we had the CIO Leadership Forum in Sydney, and we had the CIO of Brisbane's Children's Hospital on stage. And he was telling us how Workspace ONE literally changed the whole way that the hospital operates. It's a complete paperless hospital. There's no paper being used at all, right? They've got individuals that walk into a ward. There's an Apple iPad, for example. They tag on with their security authentication. And then based on who the individual is, the profile is then presented to them. So if a doctor walks in and tags on, he can look at the medical records, he can dispense pharmaceuticals, look at x-rays, he can transfer the patient from Brisbane to Cairns if he wants to. He's got full access, and then he tags off again. Then when the nurse comes in, she tags on. She has certain rights and capabilities to do that. If the IT guy walks in and tags on, he's got a different set of capabilities and authorization that applies to him. So it's really changed the way that they operate within that hospital. Another example is a state police force contacted us last year, and they were really struggling for a solution that would work for them. And what happened was that the police force were in domestic violence incidences, for example. They would go out and then they'd have to make an assessment on the day at the time. What is the situation? How can we diffuse it? Is everybody okay? And then make a decision on what needs to happen. And that happened last year, where a pair of police officers went to a house. There was a domestic violence incident. They did not have all the information available to them at the time. They had to make a call at the time at the house. Nothing was too crazy. They left a warning. 3 months later, children were injured within that same environment. If they had the information with them available at the time, they would have known that there was an individual with a known history of violence, and they could have made a different decision on the day. So VMware have been working with state police to build a platform for them, which meant that they could provide any application that they have at their back end to their devices, whether it's a handheld mobile device, in vehicle, on motorbike, in tactical response vehicle, in any shape or form, in a secure manner, Now you can imagine if a vehicle stops, police officers gets out, they run, somebody comes in, rips the device off the car and then runs off, right? It could be a massive security breach. So how do we manage all of that? It's been extremely successful, and we're rolling that out to other police forces and other state police forces as well. But that's, to me, is a clear example of where VMware, with yourselves as our partners, can make a difference in the community. And coming back to our any slide, any device, anywhere, on any cloud platform, it resonated whether it was healthcare in Brisbane Hospital or whether it's police force in a state police environment, it resonates through the bank. So with Workspace ONE, a great end user experience, providing any application with modern management and capability, having insight in terms of transport of application and connectivity, and also providing automation where needed. And the key thing here is also that we don't just support iOS or Android devices, we also support Win 10, Mac, Chromebook, rugged, connected things, Internet of Things devices. It really gives you the opportunity to say to your customer confidently, we can support whatever device you have out there. So let's quickly have a look at some of the sales opportunities for you. So I always like to keep the product discussion at the back end, because if you leave with a product discussion, you kind of get into the weeds too quickly and you miss half the opportunity on the table. So if we talk about software-defined private cloud, hyper-converged, for example, a conversation to have with your customer is, how do we reduce your hardware complexity and improve your resource optimization? What strategies do you have within your environment that helps you understand where you can optimize your infrastructure, right? Or how do we look at wasted resources and optimize those resources that you have currently available in a far better fashion? What sells behind that, whether it's vSphere, vSAN, or vRops, doesn't matter. It's not a licensing discussion. You know, most often our partners are out there trying to flick licenses. But when you have a conversation with a customer about an outcome or a solution, you get far further than having just a license being flicked at the front end. The same with hybrid cloud. So, Mr. Customer, how do we reduce your silos of complexity, standardizing your services and automation across clouds for existing next-gen applications? In simple terms, if your applications are sitting up there across multiple clouds, how do you know where it is? How do you keep visibility on it? How do you manage it? Right? Very simple conversations and questions to have. The back end behind that would be, let's sell them some vRealize suite and cloud, VMware Cloud Services, an easier conversation to have. So, and then also once you have established what the business processes is, you can then assign automation into the equation and start bringing that automation into your business processes and the products that you align behind that.
Curiosity is in our DNA, and innovation is our superpower. We turn the impossible
opportunity for being here today. I'm going to hand over to Niels now, but thank you. Our team is here to have a chat with you. If you have any questions, feel free to do so. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Adrian.
Thanks, Niels.
Great job. 5 minutes over, mate, really. Hey guys, that's a wrap for us from a sales and go-to-market perspective. Happy if you have any questions or anything, happy to answer that. We do have lunch outside, just to make sure we leave you guys fit and ready for the cold out there. But again, thank you for joining. I know it was not easy to get you this morning. In fact, there's quite a few people that did not actually make it, that decided to stay at home with all the trains and stuff and the mess up with that. So thank you for that. And that's a wrap from us. And once again, thank you for attending. Have a good day.